Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Elizabeth. I am an RN and I am licensed in the state of New York and New Jersey. I have also taken a GLP-1 medication and I have lost 90 pounds and actually a little bit over 90 pounds. And today's topic is being a mom on a GLP-1 medication. So I am a mother of 3 children. At the time when I started a GLP-1 medication, I was about 4 months postpartum. And I was actually excited to start this medication because I had taken metformin, and I had had some good results with metformin. I had noticed that I had had some appetite suppression, and I was absolutely thrilled because I had done some research and I saw that there is a belief that metformin might also target the GLP-1 pathway. So I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna be on board for GLP-1. I had also had my father, who had passed away a couple of years ago. He was on Trulicity and Victoza, and like nothing controlled his diabetes except those medications. And I believe they added many, many years to his life. So I was pumped to take this. So I was going to make this medication work, and I had to make it work around having kids. So I had a very little baby at the time. I had a 4-month-old, infant at the time. And for those of you who are mothers and parents, of course, you know you're going to be up at night with that baby. The babies aren't going to, sleep for you. And on top of that, I had to go to work. It's not like I could just sleep in or anything like that. You can't, I had to wake up. I had to get up the next morning early, get my other kids to school and function. So, and then on top of that, this summer, we had a death in our family, which was very devastating and of course, always these things are unexpected. It was unexpected. And I had to really work around my lifestyle. So why I'm saying this is because part of taking a GLP-1 is managing side effects. And I had to take my medication on days where I knew I was going to get the sleep and the rest that I needed. And I had to be okay with not being absolutely perfect. I wasn't always catching 8 hours of sleep most nights because of, like I said, being up with the baby sometimes. And sometimes the baby's up a lot and sometimes they're up a little bit. And then you have other kids and they need attention too. So it's not like you could just go and take a nap, even if the baby is sleeping, Obviously, I had some support at the time. I had my husband and my mother-in-law and everything. But I had to just do my best. And what that meant for me was I had to take my nights. And I would say, so for example, in the beginning of my journey, I needed support. I couldn't do this without support. I didn't know much about the medication. I didn't know much about what to eat on this medication. And I needed that. I had a support group and I had a nutritionist I saw. She was very lovely. And I made sure that everything else, I had to rough it a bit, but I made sure to carve out time for that support group. And, it didn't matter what that was. I made sure I had time for that. Also, I would have to remember to pre-package certain meals. Like I'd have to prepare some meals ahead of time. Sometimes I didn't get to do that. So what I ended up doing was, I you know, a lot of times, like if I needed to eat, I needed to eat. It didn't matter where I was, because you're on the GLP-1 medication and you still are going to be hungry, and you do need to eat. Otherwise, you can get sick if you don't eat. I did find though that, like, for example, on a GLP-1 medication with intermittent fasting, I could not go as long of intermittent fasting. Like I used to do crazy fast. I used to do like 2, 3, 4 day fasts. And I don't recommend those, because I remember I was dealing with a body that was like fighting. It wanted to just be a higher weight. It's like, it seems to be like, I think my body just seems to think that there's no food, and we're like back in Poland still, and we're starving, and it doesn't like understand that we're in America and that we have a lot of food, plenty of food. So it just seems to always try to gain weight, even when I am eating keto, low carb, not overeating. It seems to, I've always had more difficulty losing weight. So back to being a mother on a GLP-1. You have to give yourself grace. You're in a stage of life where you have little ones who are depending on you. And with that being said, you can still lose weight and be a mother. It's possible. You just have to be smart about it. You know, you gotta, you know, it's not going to be like when you didn't have kids and you could just go to a gym whenever you wanted, or you could just go like take a walk whenever you wanted by yourself. So you have to try to find ways to incorporate healthy things while you have kids. So I always made sure to keep Greek yogurt in the house. If I had like a chip and dip kind of craving, I would take some Greek yogurt and I'd mix it with ranch dressing, and I would have like a craving for pretzels. I took some pretzels and I would have it with some protein dip, or maybe a little cottage cheese. You know, some days I had to have a protein cookie or a protein bar, or a shake. You know, you have to have options available that are easy for you. I also, the hardest thing I found is that on a GLP-1, I find it much harder to eat too late at night, because remember, you don't want the food like sitting in your stomach, and then you lie down. That's going to cause you to be nauseous and maybe even throw up. So I had to find either I had to suck it up and eat after the kids ate, or I ate with the kids, or I ate before the kids. You have to figure out, you know, what are your preferences? Would you rather eat later and kind of deal with the stomach stuff, or do you want to eat a little earlier? It's not going to be the most peaceful, relaxing meal, but you'll at least have some food in your system. Another good thing is you could eat your meal earlier and then have a small snack later, so you have some food you know, that you could just sort of sit and enjoy, but you don't have a ton of like heavy dinner food in your system. I got myself also plates. I got myself like these portion size plates. They were these salad plates and they were colorful. And I used those. So that way I'm not like measuring every little thing, but I realized that like this is about the amounts that I eat. I had bowls also for like stuff, you know, that food that you like put in bowls, and I utilize that as well, and I utilize that all the time now. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that it's easy, because you know, this is a stage of life where it's such a blessing to have these children and to be a mother, and you have to also appreciate it. I learned something, I think it was a TED Talk or something. But it was such good advice. The days are long, but the years are short. So, you know, be on the GLP-1, enjoy the journey, but enjoy being a mom too, because it's a hard experience, but it's so rewarding as well. So do you need support, one-on-one coaching, a support group, or just a course, just a tracker? Join us, glp1central.com, glpone-central.com. The link is in the description below. You can also email me, glpone-central@gmail.com. And I look forward to seeing you there. Have a good one.